So our lives at present are not the most complex. You move from place to place, and that has added, that's added all sorts of problems, quite apart from the interpersonal that you've got going on as well. If you want the technical term for it, we're in a VUCA situation. These guys are originally doing work in military. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, there's a lot of ambiguity, all sorts of challenges to what's going on. You should also note there's a sort of, I don't know if this is a genuine fact in psychology, but it's always worked for me. There's a sort of a law of threes effect. And in this respect, it's that people can generally handle stuff for about 3 weeks. But after 3 weeks, they start finding it much more challenging. Now, clearly, we're in week 4. What it means for me is that I try and split up the cycles of what I'm doing with people into a 3-week cycle. But certainly, we're now in a situation where we're right in the SH1T, and as such, looking for help is useful. There is, however, lots of help out there, and it's how useful that help is. And that's, again, why I'd like you to take a critical look at what I suggest and, of course, what other people suggest in terms of you making best use of it. First of all, let's not go overboard about this "it's all in the mind" thing. We're in a situation which is, frankly, quite dangerous. Yeah, just like this young lady sitting on the edge in Turkey. It's dangerous, and some anxiety is sensible. If you don't take this seriously, it will bite you in the bottom, and perhaps even harder and somewhere else. So it is a logical act to feel some anxiety. It is a logical act to take some steps. It is an illogical and stupid act to just bravado it, which I know a number of people have done. However, dangerous places can be quite nice. These two guys halfway up, halfway up the cliff in Yosemite, having a kit. Dangerous situations can be quite comfortable, but you have to make the necessary physical and mental adjustments to make sure that that's what's working. So it's worth again your while to take a look at where you are, and then to take a look through your athletes' eyes at where they are, and to try and to see what you can do to make things better. In the military, I always used to say to us, any fool can be uncomfortable, and that's the case here. So that's what we're after. So after a few days, things were getting fraught, as you can see from this little illustration here. Well, what can we feel? What sorts of things might you or your athletes, and we're talking here mostly about your athletes, be going through? There's a number of sort of reactions. We can, this great word, catastrophize. If you remember Dad's Army, Private Fraser, oh, we're all doomed, and that's what this is. You keep running through things in your head. You keep thinking about advice you've been given, suggestions that have been made. It's called rumination. It's like when a cow brings up the cud to chew. And that rumination, just too much of going through it, just drives you downwards and downwards. You almost sink under the weight of your own negative expectation. Alternative, another way of the catastrophizing is, well, whatever I do, it's no good, so why bother? Why would I bother to do it? So that's one reaction that's quite common. Another one is people overthink and they emotionalize. The trouble is when you keep running through, especially when it's very strong, it has a very strong emotional valence, or it's emotionally laden, that practice makes permanent. In other words, we've told ourselves this so many times, we've run it through in our head so many times, that we're driven by what we feel is right. You can't trust anybody, the whole thing, the wheels come off. A third option, and of course, all of these things are interlinked, they're not mutually exclusive, is you get pessimistic or externalized. We're all still doomed. We forget all the good stuff. It's been quite pleasant for me, if not for the rest of the family, for me to be around the kids. It's been quite, it's a change of pace and it's a change of life. And you have to look at it and take the good and the bad. Unfortunately, for a whole variety of reasons, lots of people will forget all the good stuff. They'll externalize it. They'll blame everything on the government, the Chinese, the war, whatever it is, but they'll blame it on something else. And as a result, in all of these consequences, we're getting less control. And what we'd like is an acceptance. We'd like an acceptance that says, okay, best of a bad job, let's get on with it. It's obviously what we'd like from athletes. It's actually what most athletes would do under most circumstances. It's called proactive coping. It's even before something's occurred, I'm looking for ways to sort it out and try and solve it. The trouble is that, like any other human, athletes are not necessarily great at transferring their skills from one place to another. So they might be absolutely fantastic at coping with pressure. They might be really good at setting goals, at being self-organized, at using imagery, yada, yada, yada. But all of a sudden, this situation is a novel situation. Unless you've been held by terrorists, it's not something you've done before. And now all of a sudden you're up against it. Now, you need to be a little bit careful with that acceptance, because people can almost over-organize too far in advance, but that's what you'd like. And it's also where it's really, really good if you role model. So if you're saying, if you are sharing with your athletes, oh yeah, I'm finding it really hard, I've managed to do X, Y, Z, this has been really good though, how about you? You can role model to them how you would like them to cope, and that works very nicely.